It is easy. We are in the place that it's the easiest place to grow roses. If you give it a little water, you give it a little fertilizer, some mulch, and you prune it decently, and even if you don't prune it, it's still gonna grow.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of Green Acres and our guests. These general gardening tips and suggestions may work for you, as well as those from alternative sources. When using any garden products or tools, read and follow all label directions. And learn how to make your yard summer strong at bewatersmart.info.
The Green Acres Garden Podcast is the podcast dedicated to helping gardeners hone their growing skills while we celebrate our love of plants. So whether you're new to growing or a seasoned gardener, you're sure to learn something new. Join the fun as we have conversations with world-class growers, passionate green thumbs, and professional garden experts from Green Acres Nursery and Supply. Listen every week. We'll answer questions you didn't know you had. Austin, do you know who the world's best landscape designer is?
Ooh, I don't know. Who is it?
Dude, by far and away, Mother Nature.
Oh, okay.
So I just came off a trip to Yosemite. Welcome, everyone, to the show. Welcome, one and all, to the Green Acres Garden Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Jordan, and I'm talking about a sweet trip I just got back from Yosemite, and it got me inspired, Austin. It made me
so cool.
I realized Mother Nature is far and away the best landscape designer. She knows what she's doing. When you're down there, I mean, from the rock of the hardscape, I mean, come on, of the granite, but so many beautiful native plants. If you've ever wanted to consider, growing with natives or just get inspired, if only not even natives, just to get inspired to create just a beautiful landscape at your home, get out into nature, and you will not be let down. Out in Yosemite, I saw just wildflowers as far as the eye can see, Austin. Lupin. I mean, the ground was carpeted in purple.
Meadows of that stuff,
just
right?
Purple everywhere.
That's so cool.
The dogwoods. I mean, then full bloom, these trees that are just living under in the canopy of taller trees in that shade, and just, full of white blossoms, so lush, the dogwoods there. Columbines, native penstemons, the big leaf oaks, of course, the pine trees. But when I was there, I was just like, you know what? I gotta get back to the garden, and I was so inspired by Mother Nature. It really got me really, really excited to go back to the school garden where everything has exploded. We got past the heat wave.
Yep.
And guess what? We were pretty optimistic, and the plants made it through those 2-3 days of warm weather. Everything looks great, and now that the plants are kind of getting established and rooted in, I can dial back my irrigation, kind of do what I like to do, and spread out the watering a little bit.
Okay.
I know a lot of people are always asking about how do we water our plants, especially our veggie gardens.
Spread it out? You're just watering less frequently?
Yes,
less
deep
frequent.
and infrequent.
Okay.
So I think it's easy when it's hot to go, I got to water all day, every day, or especially when your plants are young, you go, I got to water every day, But now that they're established, that would be the wrong thing to do. And so I've from learning from other gardeners and growers and my own experience and research, just deep, infrequent watering, especially for your tomatoes, your peppers, all those plants, they're really going to respond well to getting saturated when they need it, and then given a chance to dry out in between. And I'm telling you, with that deep, infrequent watering, it's really going to solve a lot of problems, from the blossom end rot to, just having plants that are wilted, or you wondering, am I watering enough or not enough? No, just deep waterings, but then give those plants a few days, maybe 3 to 4 days is about my break in between, and then we're off and running to another watering. So now that that's all dialed in, I actually want to set my sights on something a little more colorful this week, Austin.
What are you thinking?
So a while back, I planted a little patch of roses at my house, and I've been having a ball just getting my rose garden going, and it's been a full year. Amazing spring. Everything bloomed out. It was just so gorgeous and fantastic, fragrant as well. But now I'm wondering, okay, what are we going to do to make sure I can keep those plants healthy, keep the blooms coming? What do I do? And so we reached in with our good old friend.
I know who to call.
Yes.
The Master Rosarian herself, Charlotte Owendyk. It's been a little bit since we've seen her, but just like you said, when we need help with our roses, this is who we call. We look at our local rose societies, our Master Rosarians, the people who run the rose shows.
And I think Charlotte's in like 3 or 4 different rose societies.
She is a true pro. She's been growing roses, I think, her whole entire life. And we sat down with her at her home, her beautiful landscaped home, filled with 350 roses. So
and growing.
We were in the right spot.
Oh, for sure. No, she has the experience. She has the passion and enthusiasm, and she really can put it out there in a way that I can understand. And what I like is that she makes rose care seem doable and easy for everybody. And I think she takes a lot of joy in bringing that same passion, enthusiasm, and sharing her experience with other gardeners and growers. I think that's part of being a Master Rosarian is really outreach. It's teaching other people, not just being, hey, I got a cool title. It's no, that's somebody who's put in the hours of helping other people learn about roses. And so as that temperature dial continues to get dialed up, it's good for us to be prepared. We talked about it with our veggie gardens, but also our ornamental gardens, our flowers, our shrubs. And in her landscape, Charlotte has, it's all about rose care, but man, Austin, I don't know about you, but I was super stunned by, it's going to be my I have some plants of the week this week, and maybe one of the honorable mentions. And I know we always talk about bulbs at a different time of the year when it's time to plant the bulbs, because now it's kind of past.
But now we got to see
gladiolas.
The glads.
Holy moly. They're gladius, named after a sword. These beautiful spikes, these swords of color. She cut you a few bouquets and me as well.
Charlotte. Thank you, Charlotte. That was so nice.
Sent us off to date night with a little bit of a little momentum. So I appreciated that. But I was so stunned. I was like, man, she's like, they grow like weeds. Yeah. So that is a plant that I walked away from there going, I'm going to throw a couple of those bulbs in next year. And I have a couple little problem spots, a strip or two where there's not a lot of space to do anything too large. But they grow vertically, and then they fan out a little bit, and those vertical flower spikes, they really caught my eye.
Yeah, those were beautiful, but it's more than that. She has 350 roses, but it seems like thousands of other plants. It's you can't even see the soil. Everything is completely covered, right? There's tons of sedum.
That is the other plant of the week. That was going to be my it's okay.
Sorry.
No, you're right on
sedum,
it.
Yes, beautiful.
This beautiful Angelina sedum she had. It is I said lime green. It's chartreuse. That was my word of the week that I got to polish up. Yeah. But yeah, this beautiful chartreuse color that blankets out all the negative space in between her roses. And I love it because you still have to get in there and take care of your roses, so you can't have it blanketed everywhere. If you notice, she has little stepstones in between, just kind of in between some of the bigger roses, where if she needs to kind of lean in there or get closer and go prune or trim or do whatever, the sedum has its own space. Her foot can land safely on a beautiful little stepping stone. But that sedum, my gosh.
It just meant that there's no room for a weed to grow.
No.
And it's locking in moisture. It's shading the ground.
Absolutely.
And, with all the other plants, she was describing it as kind of keeping the ambient temperature down, making a little, ecosystem, a little
Absolutely.
Localized climate there for the roses. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, less weeds, shaded, cooler soil. That can have potentially great effects on your roses, especially when we have roses that are maybe in our gardens and they're a little bit exposed. Mm-hmm. You might notice, hey, I thought this rose likes the sun. It does, but it doesn't want to get cooked, and it likes to have some friends.
Right.
So she uses companion planting out there just magnificently. And also everything kind of just marries together nicely. So I posted a video. I'll put it up again.
Oh, cool.
On the Facebooks there, and so I'll put it on the garden podcast group there.
Put it in our
Share
group.
it. Oh,
there we go. I like how you said you got to give your rose a friend. It needs a friend.
They do better with friends. And if you look at her landscape, you go, not only do the roses just look a little healthier for all the reasons she's going to list and teach us how.
Yeah.
But it just makes for a more beautiful landscape where everything isn't so separate. The plants all kind of seem to be kind of at the same party, singing the same song and just all smiling together. I love
that. Yeah, I totally agree. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into our interview with Charlotte Owendyk. She's going to teach us about caring for your roses in the summertime. Here we go.
So I'm here in Roseville, California with Charlotte Owendyk, Master Rosarian. Charlotte, how are you doing?
I'm doing really well. I'm surviving the weather. We've actually had a wonderful year weather-wise, and we're just going to go into our really dog days of summer.
For sure, and that's a perfect situation because actually we're here to learn from you. We're in your home right now looking out at your backyard. It is absolutely stunning, even though it was pretty hot out there today. How did the spring go? And what are we going to do to look forward to the summer?
We had one of the most spectacular springs I can remember. We had rain almost every month and about an inch of rain each month. So the blooms really were big and spectacular in the roses, any of my spring bloomers. I never had so many daffodils. I have my next door neighbor, he says, Charlotte has a lot of daffodils because they've been multiplying so much and I've been spreading it around. It was just phenomenal. And then the Johnny jump ups and everything, they were everywhere.
Did you notice that the extra rainfall that we had, did that have an effect on your roses?
Oh,
and can you refresh our listeners' memories?
Okay, let me
Why are we here? Why are you so special to us? Because you have an amazing rose collection. How many roses are actually here
I
at your
have
house?
approximately 350 roses and 3/4 to an acre's worth of property. I do not cultivate at all. There's a portion, I call it the back 40. I have some raised beds with some vegetables growing right now. Then I have a sports court, and then the rest is garden. The front yard is really low maintenance, but I have about 25 to 30 roses in the front yard, and it's only as like little pieces of jewelry.
And I hope to talk about your front landscape because it looks quite a bit different from the rear landscape. For me, I have a little patch of roses that I'm concerned with as well. They had a beautiful spring. So I'm loving my rose garden, but it's starting to look a little spent. So I'm coming to you, Master Rosarian, to teach us what should we be doing right now to best take care of our roses. I want to make sure that they make it through the summer happy, healthy, and then we get the most out of them. I'm looking forward to hopefully another big bloom, I guess, in fall, I hope. But what can we do to get there?
Okay. I'm sure Linda told you about doing and making sure you give fertilizer right after the first bloom, which you had, which was in the end of April.
Yep.
And hopefully you gave it some organic fertilizer.
Yes.
Then, so that should tide it over till, let's say, in August, and I would fertilize in about mid-August for your fall bloom. But at the point, you don't need to fertilize. You can give it some organic fertilizer in June, but do not give any organic fertilizer in July and first part of August. It's too hot. Most roses, they take a breather. They'll put out scattered blooms. There's a few roses that I have that bloom all summer long, but the Memorial Day, Pope John Paul, those will bloom all summer long. But your number one key for good roses is watering and mulch.
Yeah?
That's it.
What's the best way to water a rose in the summer?
Most people use drip irrigation. Linda and I actually do too. It's good every now and then to hose off your roses, take the dust off of it, spray underneath so you get it kind of opens the stomata and things. The rose will absorb some of that moisture because of the higher humidity, but that prevents any problems with mites. That's one thing. In hot, dry weather, you can get mites, and that comes in on the wind. There's nothing you can do about it. But they hate water. As soon as they water, they wash down to the ground. All your soil beetles will chomp and eat those up because they do not climb back up. So that just makes the roses happier, especially when it was smoky and we had all that ash.
Yeah.
The roses were not happy. It was hot and stuff. I just washed all that ash off, and it just takes the roses just kind of. It's just like when we take a shower.
Feels pretty good, yeah.
It feels pretty.
So
good.
you do that early morning?
You could do it I would do it either early morning or late afternoon, early evening. Not during the hot heat of the day, because if you get some water on there, sometimes. It just kind of, the sun rays get kind of concentrated and you may get some damage to leaves, but not usually.
And spraying them is okay, because you always hear like, oh no, you're going to get powdery mildew or whatever, but we're so dry.
This is such an easy area. Once the temperatures reach 85 degrees during the day, we have no fungal diseases at all.
Past that temperature?
Yep.
Wow. So it's that and below is a certain
you
range.
have to have so much. It's a matter of humidity. Here, it just evaporates with our low humidity, so we don't have it. That's not an issue. I'll water and hose off my plants. It's cool when the sun goes down. It may be warm, but it's not hot. The sun's not beating down. I'll go out and just hose things off if I feel like it.
Now that your plants have bloomed, let's say I have a collection of 9, so I'm asking for a friend, roses. They've bloomed out. Do we prune them back now? Do we let those flowers mature into rose hips? What's the best practice?
I deadhead. Because
Deadhead
if
'em?
you deadhead, then you get new blooms.
Okay,
So,
that's what I did.
Yeah, you did. It's
a close one.
I have a lot. I filled up a lot of green trash cans.
Yeah, same.
When I have after the first spring bloom, it's
Well, maybe not as much as you. Okay, so for those who maybe are new to gardening,
deadheading.
what is
Let's
deadheading?
go.
Yeah.
It basically is either there's two ways of deadheading: picking flowers for a bouquet, and then you don't have to worry about coming afterwards.
Yeah.
And then if you leave the flowers on the plant, you can just cut it down to where the stem is probably pencil thickness or the thickness of your little finger, and just that's it. I don't care where you cut on the stem, just cut it and just take it off. Otherwise, it will put the effort into producing hips. You want them to put effort into producing buds and new blooms. That's why you come when we get to October, November, that's when you can leave the flowers on there. And then you can get hips for on your plants, and that'll tell your plants to slow down and think about being dormant. But in the summer, when it's in July, when it's over 100 degrees, most roses will go dormant.
Okay, I'm going to hold and jump in here just for a second, Kevin. I want to interrupt because you and Charlotte started talking about rose hips, and it occurred to me, I think I've heard of rose hips before, but I don't really know what it is. I think it's like an ingredient in perfume, but what is it? What?
Yes, so rose hips are pretty cool, and I think they do have a ton of uses that people have used and probably continue to do this. Teas and tinctures. I think you can even eat it, jams and jellies and things like that. Supplements. There's some nutritional value in rose hips, but what it truly is it's the ripened flower. It's the flower has gone full term. The petals have now fallen away. The ovary swells up around the seeds and contains the seeds. So inside those hips, a mature hip, there should be rose seeds, which is pretty cool. Now, Charlotte was like, hey, I recommend, deadheading right now because you want to get those flowers gone and you want to kind of train your plant to think, hey, I'm still not done growing yet. The season's still yet to be finished, and I haven't finished my mission of reproduction.
So more flowers.
So that way it encourages them to flower more when the temperatures are right. But then at the end of the season, if you do want to, harvest rose hips for whatever the number of reasons, that's the best time to do it is in the fall. And I think people even say that the flavor is better if you are eating them when they get a little bit of frost.
Oh, interesting.
So some people will leave them on there for the fall into the early winter. And then, of course, by the new year, we're looking towards, pruning them back.
Interesting.
Yes.
I never quite made the connection that these rose plants were producing fruit.
I've never eaten them personally. I think we maybe have to give it a shot, or maybe find some rose hip.
I'm down.
Product or something. But really interesting. And I said, I know people have been using it for different reasons for a number of years.
Okay.
But prune them off now. Deadhead as needed. And then if you want to see those rose hips or play with them, experiment. Maybe leave it for the fall.
Got it. Okay. Thank you so much. Let's jump back in.
Now, when it comes to bringing water to the roses, talk about drip irrigation, a mixture of hand watering. But how much water is it? Is it all day, every day? Because are roses water thirsty? Can you water them in a way that is water efficient?
Yeah, that's always a tough thing to do because every soil's different. And I'm lucky that I have a good draining soil because it's never soggy. But if you have clay soil, that's why you add amendments to bring more air in it so it isn't as soggy. Clay soil also has a lot of nutrients in it, so there's positive and negative. But the big key is you need 1 to 2 inches of water minimum a week, probably a little more when it's 100 degrees. So, for example, here, because the water drains so quickly, I water once a day, and I may stop, and then for all my beds, flower beds, I watch it daily. And I have one day I skip a Wednesday, so it doesn't. So I get some. It depends. When it gets really hot, I water every day, but not as long. But if you have clay soil, you've got to water once and then again a little bit later because it takes so longer for it to drain. I don't know what kind of soil, what kind of routine.
Yeah.
But you've got to test your own soil, and the best thing to do is take a shovel and see how far it's gone down. You need a damp soil 6 to 8 inches minimum.
I'm always shocked sometimes, especially at the beginning of the season, at how shallow the water actually goes when I am watering. Even on a drip system, I'll have it on for a while and go, oh, I wonder how deep it went. And then at the beginning of the season, the soil was already kind of dry, I'm always shocked at how shallow it actually did go.
Yeah,
it's nice to be able to dig it up.
Yeah, that's why it's really important to take a look and actually use a shovel and see how well it's done. I had a drip irrigation inline, and I did circles around my roses and wide enough so I did a spiral around it so my companion plants would also get water. I converted one. I got a whole new rose bed, so I have sprayers this year, and I'm really happy with it because that seems to lower the ambient temperature, and I've got more water is going. The gallonage is just higher, so because I went from a smaller.
So you have a mixture of actual drips, doop, 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 and then actual sprayers as well out there.
There's different parts of the garden, so yeah.
I've noticed that. I like that.
Yeah. So
especially when you have some of your more established plants, they kind of need that dedicated drip. But then you have those beautiful little corners and areas where it's a lot of bedding plants and things.
I have a lot of bedding plants, so yeah, it makes a difference. Yeah. So yeah, I've got quite a bit of a mix. Almost all my soil, other than the areas that I walk on, will have a plant by the end of the season. The plants grow and grow and grow, like catmint. I start off with a 3x3 little small plant, and it's
the Nepeta or whatever.
Nepeta. Yeah, it's a good 2 feet wide, in circumference, so it covers the whole soil.
Charlotte, could you recommend a rose, maybe for someone who's new, maybe a hybrid tea? Something along those lines, so they can tolerate our heat and sunshine?
There are a lot of good roses, and an easy way to do the ones that I really like, and I think you have a couple. That's Memorial Day. I love that because a lot of people want fragrance, and
is it the one that's kind of pink and kind of white?
It's lavender pink.
Yeah.
Orchid pink, and it's kind of a ruffly thing. It tolerates our heat very, very well. It's extremely vigorous. It's a wonderful performer for our area. Another one is Pope John Paul II, and it's a beautiful, pure white rose. Again, another fragrant rose. That's an excellent rose. Another rose I like is Dick Clark. It's a blended rose. It's a red and white and a little bit of yellow mix. It's also very good.
Red,
rose.
white, and yellow.
Yeah,
wow.
And those are hybrid teas. Secret is my favorite rose. Again, fragrant. It's pink and white, and it's a beautiful flow. It blooms its head off. It just blooms all the time. It puts out. Every 4 or 5 weeks, you got a whole new bloom cycle. So it's stunning. Those are hybrid teas. But if you want to have just for color and just out for in your landscape, walk around your garden. See what changes are needed. Think about, is that meeting your need? Do you like the way it looks? Would you want to add a little plant? Look online. Look at what other people do. One of the things I like to do is I like to see what plants go together. And I'm always, well, what if I do? Sometimes when I go to a nursery, I say, well, what if I put this plant with that plant? Or I've got it in my head, and it's just fun. That's the creative part of gardening. And then I'll walk around, and I might not really be thinking about it. And I go, what could I do there? And sometimes people will give me a gift like a Oriental poppy, and I go, I think I'll put that, or a dianthus. And I'll read about that plant and say, okay, we have it really hot here. Some things that would be, I made a trip to England and looked at how they're planting. They could put anything together because the sun is so soft.
What's full sun there isn't quite full sun here, yeah.
Yeah, full sun here it's tough.
It's another category.
Yeah, it's another category. But I said, this needs a little part sun. I think I'm going to put it over here and see how this works. So it's just fun. And if it doesn't work, sometimes I'll pick it and I'll move it. And I'll try things. That's the fun part of it all. Because sometimes it doesn't work and you shovel prune it. Sometimes you have a rose and it doesn't produce enough. You shovel prune it. That's editing. I find I've been here a long time. Most of my job now is editing what I have. I have a lot of things that are self-sown and stuff like that. I just make sure everything is well watered. I check it I can do it, and I want to. I get my cup of coffee or my cup of tea, and I walk around my garden and say hello. You've got to find what works for you and just play. Have fun with it. If it doesn't work, if a plant doesn't want to grow, I can't grow asters here. They sit there and so I gave up. I don't know how many years I thought I wanted to have asters. I just gave up. Maybe I should try it again and maybe it'll grow. But there's other things you can grow. So have fun. Don't be so serious about it. Just play. I like to show my roses. I like to talk roses. I go everywhere and I can talk about roses and I love showing my garden. I love walking people through the garden, answering their questions. That's what joy I have, sharing and encouraging people to grow things. It's so good for you. It's joy of life.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing the joy of life and the joy of roses with us. Charlotte Owendyk, thank you so much. I'm sure we'll be back here again in the future to talk more about gardening and roses.
Yes.
Until then, we'll see you next time.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right, we are back from our interview with Charlotte. Big thank you to Charlotte and Kevin. I learned a lot, and I'm hoping you can quickly recap and summarize what we learned as we're moving forward into the heat, what we need to do with our roses. What you got?
I love that she grows all of her roses organically and doesn't spray a whole lot of anything. She's able to take care of her roses in such an efficient way, from adding compost each and every year, her use of mulch and the green mulch in the living plants, that sedum. I mean, come on, chef's kiss. That thing blanketed out everywhere, looked beautiful, and had a beneficial impact on the roses as well. So what she's doing out there, you can see the results. The watering, I think this time of year for a lot of people, whether it's your roses, your bedding plants, your trees or shrubs, or your veggies, watering is crucial. So for her, same thing, deep, infrequent watering. She utilizes drip and micro sprays all throughout her landscape. And I think one distinction she made is that when people sometimes get into, they go, a drip system. So they'll put one little emitter right to their rose plant and think that one little tiny emitter is going to be enough. And she goes, no, it's got to be 360 all the way around the perimeter of your plant. So that way water can get to every aspect of those roots where they're going to kind of crawl out and want to be. So watering your plants deeply and efficiently. I loved all that. And the organic spraying, where she's like, I don't need to, I don't have a lot of bugs, because I'm feeding with organic methods. The plants grow at a proper pace. They're not getting forced like traditionally with synthetic fertilizers, where you get all this flush of growth kind of getting pushed unnaturally. And then that tissue is so sensitive and tender, then it becomes a magnet for pests. So the health of her garden really reflects, I think, all the care that she's taking into it. And really, I think it's a lot of little things that she's doing, from the watering, the mulch, the non-spraying. And then even she said, if I do have an issue or some bugs or some mites, I just blast them off in the early morning with a little jet of water and don't worry about it. She's like, because our climate is so hot and dry that the same issues that maybe East Coast gardeners are dealing with their roses, we can take care of ours a little differently in our dry, extreme weather we have with that hot heat. So sometimes you think it's hot and dry is a bad thing. Sometimes it actually has a positive result. And I think having a little bit of freedom to go out there and just blast off your roses as needed, when you need it, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, totally. All right. Well, thanks again, Charlotte. It was so great seeing you, visiting, and learning from you all about roses. It was a blast. Kevin, that's all for this week. Go ahead and take us out.
Well, thank you one and all to everybody who tunes in each and every week. I absolutely love it. I got to do a big shout out to my grandma. We had her 95th birthday this last week.
Cool.
And
Congrats.
that was rad. And it was so cool. Bunch of family members and friends and cousins. They're like, hey, I haven't seen for a long time. They're like, I listen every week.
Oh, yes.
And I didn't know that. So, hey, so the family continues to grow. The listenership is growing. So please, if you're out there, you're listening, share this with a friend or family member. We would love it. And check back in next week for another garden adventure. We're sure to have another wonderful episode for you, because you know what? When it comes to gardening and growing, you can never stop learning. So happy gardening to you all. And please, never stop growing.